Welcome back to the first crack. Well, it's a very exciting night for us, Joey. Very exciting night. We've been welcoming a new man to First Crack Preview, Dr. Daniel Hoyne from Champion Data.
Dixon out, Hoyne in.
Kingy, Joey, great to be here.
I'll tell you what, he's brought the graphics with him too.
How
Look
good
at
does
this.
that look, hey? That's the need for speed. It's all about ball movement in 2025. We've put the coaches in the Formula One outfits. There's some that are going really well, some not as fast as others, Joey. Some we like, some we don't.
That's true, but what we do know this year is ball movement is king. And Hoyne, you are going to be able to explain to us the different modes of teams moving the ball.
When we're here, gents, we go big. That's what we do. So, speed of ball movement. So, over the last couple of years, we feel like that we've lived in a very comfortable space with how we analyse team performance and player performance. But the gap and where we actually needed to get better was analysing how you actually move the footy. Ball movement is 75% of the game. So, we're able to actually analyse, can you move it from one end of the ground to the other? But how you do that has been a gap in the industry. Now, for the first time in AFL history, we can tell you if you move the ball quickly or slowly and the returns that come from either method.
So the mathematicians back of Office of Champion Data have put their heads down and come up with 3 key facets in terms of the criteria to track ball speed. Do you want to break it down for us?
Yeah, so we'll start with time. So time's the first element, nice and simple. Firstly, the AFL average for all 3 components is 100. So just keep that in mind. AFL average for all 3 areas is 100. So the time piece is looking at how long it actually takes you to get rid of the ball from when it gets in your hands to when you dispose of the footy. So an uncontested mark, AFL average is it takes you 4 seconds. If you get rid of it within 6 seconds, your speed from a time element will be about 70 to 80. If you get rid of it in 2 seconds, your speed will be about 130 to 150.
There's no right or wrong way to play. It's just whatever suits your team and your profile. So the second component is distance.
Yep, so this element is looking at every disposal, how far you are actually gaining distance with that disposal. It doesn't matter if it's forward, lateral or backwards. If it's 50 metres forward, lateral or backwards, it doesn't matter. It's just looking at every disposal and the absolute pure distance that you take from that disposal.
Now, is this a facet that we're seeing improve in recent years? You've got over 7 years' worth of data. This year, more than ever, teams kicking with a bit more distance.
Absolutely. So we can go back to 2019 now, and the reality is in 2025, this is the most aggressive season we have seen in our 7 years of covering speed of ball. So if you're not playing this way, potentially you are getting left behind.
Oh, yeah, that's as cutting as he gets, I can tell you. And the third component is obviously distance to goal. So how far you're taking the ball forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So unlike distance, we are looking at this element purely how far you are going in a straight line towards goal. So it is, if you go 50 metres backwards, your distance to goal will be around about 10 to 20.
That's not good.
That's not good. If you're going absolutely aggressively to goal, your distance to goal might be 140 to 150. If you see that number, you can assume that your team is playing a full-on aggressive. We are taking the opposition on and going to challenge your back 6, back 7 group.
So those 3 numbers combined become some sort of algorithm. He doesn't tell us all the secret herbs and spices.
No, but is it like the pressure gauge where there's a number of different factors that go into the pressure number that we all know now? We know that 180 is average. If you're going above 200, it's great. Is it something similar to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the pressure rating takes into account 5 key elements. The speed of ball takes into account 3 key elements, and that gets you to this graphic here where you can see AFL average being 100. So if you're going at about 120 or over, you can assume that you're playing a really high speed, high octane game. Anything under 80, you're going relatively pretty slow compared to AFL average.
So that's the how and that's the numbers. What does it look like? Show us what it looks like game day when we're sitting back on the couch watching the footy. What is AFL average?
Yeah, so we thought we'll just look at an uncontested mark. And we've gone back to Dan Curtin against Hawthorn. And you can see this play here. So he takes this uncontested mark in the defensive midfield. You can see there it takes him just over 4 seconds to get rid of it, which is AFL average for time in that aspect of that possession. The distance that he takes, 35 metres, spot on AFL average. And then the distance to goal, 21. This is now the fastest team in the competition. Mark O'Connor here takes 2 seconds to get rid of it. Keep in mind, AFL average is 4. The distance that he takes towards, overall, is over 50. AFL average, 35. Distance to goal, almost 55. So that's a full-on high-octane speed of ball movement there. This is Bailey Banfield. As you can see here, it's hold, 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 still holding, and now we go. And now we go and we release, going long, taking more distance than usual from that type of possession and longer to goal, more than AFL average. So they are the two teams, one being the fastest, one being the slowest. And now we can also analyse the type of movement that you're going with. This is an aggressive change of angle play here by Geelong. They still get rid of it quickly. They gain a lot of distance to goal. Sorry, a lot of distance overall, but the distance to goal is still AFL average. That is a high change of angles play. This here is a short, lateral change of angles play by Matt Johnson. The Freo mode, hold, hold.
Oh. Fair to say, Fremantle down the bottom of the speed rating.
Slowest team in the competition. And then when they get rid of it, they still gain more distance than AFL average, but their distance to goal there is backwards. A rating like that would see your distance to goal at about 5, 10, 15, thereabouts.
That would generate, obviously, a low rating if you played like that for the whole game.
Absolutely.
So you touched on Geelong being the highest ball speed team in the competition. So go back to Friday night, round 15, they play the Brisbane Lions. You've given us their numbers, there's their season averages, and there's quarter one. What were Brisbane able to do to them, specifically with ball speed?
Unbelievable defensive performance there by Brisbane in that particular game. That first quarter by Geelong was their second slowest quarter for the 2025 season. Time, look at that. Their AFL average for the year, 115. That first quarter, 48. They could not release like they usually do and get the aggressive ball movement game going because of just how good Brisbane were defensively. So to be able to pick that apart analytically has never been done in the game before.
So that's the scouting that's going on at club level, Joe.
Yeah, that's why the clubs will be using this data right now to be able to track the opposition and be able to stifle them. Are there any other teams that are playing at a similar speed to Geelong?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's another 4 teams that sort of fit into the Geelong bracket of being, fast and aggressive towards goal. That's the Bulldogs, Adelaide, Carlton and Melbourne. Not sure whether or not any of those teams surprise you, Joey?
Well, not really, because Melbourne and Carlton are actually pretty good at moving the ball from D50 to inside 50. They want to go forward and go to the contest. Probably the difference with them compared to Geelong, is it fair to say, is just the execution and being able to finish the plays, and that's probably why they are a difference on the ladder.
Having a look at Fremantle. So you mentioned Fremantle, they're at the other end of the spectrum. There's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever suits your group. But there you've got a couple of key points to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. So the time element there, 57, clearly the slowest team that we have on record in our 7 years with how long they take to get rid of it. But a change for Fremantle this year, unlike previously, they are aggressive with what they do once they get rid of it. That has not been a Justin Longmuir profile before. There are a few teams that fit into the Fremantle bracket as well. So you can see there, Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, West Coast, Collingwood and Sydney.
Collingwood?
Collingwood's a surprise.
Yeah, I think Collingwood will surprise. Does that surprise any of you too?
It certainly does. It's ball in hand still as slow as what Fremantle are?
So with Collingwood, there's 2 different modes. By foot, one of the slowest teams in the competition. By hand, one of the quickest teams in the competition. So they can do it in 2 different ways, and that's why they fit into this bracket.
So is it fair to say that group there, generally you can see them a lot long to a contest. They're slow, hold it up. Gold Coast a bit the same. Collingwood, we know point, and they kick the numbers. They set up behind the ball and then try and get some speed off that contest.
Correct. They're predictable in how they play. They want to gain the territory off it, not necessarily the absolute scoreboard returns, but then by playing that way, their pressure game can come into it because everyone knows where it's going. Hold, hold, hold. Get your numbers there and then explode from the next contest.
Of course, it's all about execution. Now, let's have a quick look at the Hawks because they're a fascination for most with what they're doing that's slightly different again.
So, as you can see there with Hawthorn, their speed is bang on AFL average. But how they get to that is the interesting component. They are an aggressive change of angles team like very few teams in the competition. So picture Hawthorn, when they get the footy, they want to get to the other side of the ground, but not in a lateral sense. They're still looking to go towards goal. There are only a couple of teams that fit this profile.
Giants, would they be one of them? Go in one way when it comes in and go out the other side and get it moving.
Absolutely spot on. Get it out to the outside to their fleet of small forwards. And then Richmond. I think the Richmond one might be a surprise.
Yeah. Yep.
We haven't quite seen it as much yet with Richmond, but maybe that's because of the skill execution. The Bombers are a fascination. What are you going to tell the Bomber fans?
So how Essendon do it is it's a different way, and there's only North Melbourne that actually fit into this bracket. So they take their time with ball in hand. They go longer than AFL average,
but
it's not towards goal. So think of Essendon. Take from a time perspective, take your time, long but lateral.
So is that a safe option? A safe style?
I think at times you can relate to defending with ball in hand with this type of ball movement.
We hate that model, Hoyne. We hate that model. And I hate the fact the Kangas are playing that model. To be more specific, Brisbane Lions, what are they doing?
So this is absolute ball in motion. So Brisbane, they're still one of the fastest teams in the competition, and that profile is identical to what they had in their 2024 campaign. So they get rid of it quick, but they go short and they try and change angles, hence why they're able to take so many uncontested marks, but it's in a positive sense. The ball's constantly moving, constantly changing direction, short, work our way through with elite talent.
So slightly different to what you were saying at the trend of the competition, more distance, but this has worked for them for 5 years now, so they're just continuing to play the way that has been successful for them.
Absolutely, and the interesting component here is that St Kilda fit into this exact same profile. So they're trying to do what Brisbane do, just not sure if they have the execution to be able to
Last
do
year,
it.
St Kilda were good, trying to this year, not so much. They're really struggling with their execution, playing that way.
For more information on your team, visit the website foxfooty.com.au.